It's hard to forget the blue aliens that made the top-grossing movie of all time. It's even harder to forget the time they got steamy under a glowing tree. But have you seen the extended cut? And are you curious about director James Cameron's raunchy take on their anatomy? Keep watching. At its core, Avatar is a questionably executed story about the impact of colonialism, with a lot of entertaining sci-fi lore baked into it. One of the most unusual pieces of lore involves Na'vi mating habits, which Jake finds out about firsthand when he and Neytiri steal away from her Na'vi tribe to connect with nature and one another. The pair travel to a bioluminescent forest where hanging neon foliage and floating jellyfish-like creatures fill the air. There, they officially choose one another as mates, sealing their bond with a kiss. That's not all, though. Jake and Neytiri also link together via small tendrils that come alive at the end of their braided ponytails. That's right, the Na'vi appear to get it on via their hair. Only whether or not this act is actually considered lovemaking has been hotly debated in the years since the film came out, as has every other aspect of the Pandoran mating ritual. The act of connecting one's Q, as the braids are called, is explained as more of a meeting of the minds than anything else. Those waving tendrils are directly connected to the Na'vi nervous system, meaning the pair are connecting on a sensory level when they interlock cues. Na'vi also use their cues to tame, ride, and share senses with the dragon-like mountain banshees in the area. Na'vi can even plug their braids into their place of worship, the Tree of Souls. Still, Jake and Neytiri respond to the connection as if they're in the throes of passion and follow it with an embrace. Needless to say, audiences had a few questions about the Na'vi mating ritual when Avatar came out. Is this sex? Is it more like downloading one another's hard drives? If it is a stand-in for human intimacy, why do the Na'vi also connect their cues to animals and trees? Also, why do they wear loincloths if their you-know-whats are in their braids? Is their human-like modesty a holdover from sci-fi conceptualizations of aliens past? Or is there a deeper reason for it? These questions were complicated further by the news that the love scene was originally meant to be longer. In 2010, the film's script was nominated for a WGA award, at which point it was made publicly available. RogerEbert.com obtained an excerpt from the screenplay that reveals an even more intimate version of the bonding ritual. A line from the script reads, "Kissing is very good, but we have something better." The screenplay goes on to describe the act as, quote, the ultimate intimacy, and also goes on to use phrases like pulsing energy. This extended version of the scene can be found on the Avatar Special Edition DVD, but never made it to the theatrical version. Despite murmurs about Disney Plus censoring the movie, it appears that the platform is actually just using the theatrical cut of the film. This means that we likely won't see Na'vi braid sex on the streamer anytime soon. Entertainment Weekly's Annie Barrett also dug into the deleted scene in 2010, speculating about the reasons that it could have been cut. She suggested, the scene might imply that tendril intertwining is what happens when the Na'vi have sex, which, by definition, would mean they also had sex with the trees and the six-legged panther dogs and the flying peacock lizards.
Outstanding.
The theatrical cut, then, presents a less muddled mythology to audiences, leaving the purpose of the Q interlinking a little more ambiguous. It's entirely possible to watch the theatrical version and think that maybe it's not meant as a stand-in for the act itself, but as an intense experience that, in this particular context, also led to romance. Still, none of this explains why the Na'vi have seemingly human-like private parts in addition to their cues, a question that also nagged at viewers from the time of the film's debut. It turns out there's an answer to that too, albeit not a good one. Cameron sat down with Playboy for the magazine's December 2009 issue and let the world into his thought process. Unfortunately, his thought process appears to be pretty reductive and makes it clear the rest of the world may have been overthinking the intricacies of the Avatar mythology all along. In a conversation about the long tradition of teen boys lusting after fantasy women, Cameron says, "Right from the beginning I said, she's got to have even though that makes no sense because her race, the Na'vi, aren't placental mammals." He goes on to explain that he designed the loincloths based on the garb of a real indigenous people, but then follows that apparent commitment to realism up with an in-depth description of the character's breast design. Cameron mentions a shot featuring Neytiri's nipples that had to be cut to keep the PG-13 rating. Elsewhere in the interview, he describes a goal of his regarding Neytiri, saying, "We could inspire actual lust for a character that consists of pixels of ones and zeros. As disheartening as they are, Cameron's words here pretty much speak for themselves. Over a decade after the film's release, its initial magic has worn off for many, giving way to harsher criticisms of its handling of sensitive themes and even its then cutting-edge visual effects. The teen boy fantasy rhetoric on display in the filmmaker's Playboy interview makes it more difficult than ever to get swept away by the story of Avatar. He technically answers some lingering questions about Na'vi reproduction, but in a way that's much more frustrating than satisfying.
You will never be one of the people!
With several Avatar sequels still in the making, Cameron will get a second chance to flesh out the finer points of Na'vi culture. Maybe we will see a more thoughtfully represented culture that bears more than a passing resemblance to real indigenous peoples. Whether he pulls this task off or not, the bizarre Na'vi mating ritual in all its tendril-touching glory will likely be on audiences' minds for years to come. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more SlashFilm videos about your favorite stuff are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.